and they're a little more hardcore, to be honest with you.
Really?
My personality and the culture I had in my head translates through from the first guy to the last guy. Well, guess what happens? The insurance company's like, you know what, this is stupid.
I mean, they're like the same sizes. Like,
I got this weird gut feeling. I kind of know when the big one's coming.
if your adjuster isn't, fire them.
If they're not returning emails or phone calls, you should fire them. When somebody doesn't fit, man, you gotta cut that string quickly because it's hurting them as much as hurting you. A lot of hard work, a lot of great relationships.
What's your personal rule working with the clients? What boundaries do you set?
Yeah, so it is challenging, it is difficult. It's all about the culture of the company, right?
About to watch podcast with Jack Hanks, one of my favorite public adjusters. But first, I want to make an announcement and ask you to comment something below. I'm curious how many roofers use public adjusters. Jack Hanks have a huge firm. I think they did like $180 million worth of business last year. You'll hear amazing interview with him. He'll share a lot of golden nuggets. I do recommend stay all the way to the end. But I'm just curious how many people actually use public adjusters. And also, we are looking to recommend few public adjusters on roofinginsights.com and also to endorse them on this channel. So if you're a public adjuster and you're looking for a brand deal with the Roofing Insights, reach out. Also, me and Jack are gonna be at Win the Storm next week. Hope to see you there. Enjoy the interview. Jack, how in the world did you manage $100 million in claims in 1 year?
A lot of hard work, a lot of great relationships. It's a grind, man. I think that's the myth about public adjusting is people don't understand what a grind it is. It's 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, travel, and then having a great staff behind you. That's how we got it done. Last year we did 184 million, I believe.
184 million.
And we'll do more this
How
year.
big is your team?
I have 17 people, including myself.
17?
Yep.
What's the hardest part about running a firm in multiple states? We're in Minneapolis today. Thank you for flying in. You have clients here. Sure. You have clients. And how many states you are in?
We're in 42 states.
42.
PA-wise, but we do appraisals everywhere. Plus we're licensed in Puerto Rico. We have a bunch of stuff going down there still from Hurricane Maria 7 years ago. So the hardest part, coordination. There's always engineers to meet. There's always independent adjusters to meet. So I have one person in our office. All he does is coordinate all the different inspections going on all the time. We'll have 6 going on in one day in 6 different locations. So that's the hardest part, is keeping all the chess pieces moving all together.
What are the hardest states to work? Like you said, 7 years ago in Puerto Rico, and you're still going?
Yeah, well, Puerto Rico didn't have any. So when Hurricane Maria hit 7 years ago, there were no laws there. So literally, the insurance company doesn't have to pay a claim until they have an agreed upon scope with the insured. So they've been pushing this litigation out for years and years and years. And finally, the last year, we're starting to get some positive results on litigation stuff. So we just got one last week for $12 million we won. We have 1 or 2 more going on, but it's been 7 years of this, man.
The same players or different players in that state?
Different. Most of the insureds are out of Spain. So it's a whole different culture, whole different policies. Everything's in Spanish. So it's a lot of translation stuff going on.
Wow.
Yeah, but pretty cool. Yeah. I enjoy my time there.
How are those insurance companies different from United States companies?
Well,
Europe is different.
Europe's a lot different. The core of it's the same, right? Delay, deny, defend, man. Right? They have the same business principles as our guys do. And they're a little more hardcore, to be honest with you.
Really?
They're more likely to litigate than they are to negotiate, I've seen. So we just have some great attorneys we're working with over there. They've been pounding for 7 years on this stuff.
So you have Spanish attorneys too?
Yeah, they're all based in Puerto Rico and San Juan. They're bilingual, and I'll sit in the meeting and half of it's in Spanish, and I'll have my Google Translate sitting there. I know I got some of the stuff right after this many years, but there is some sort of language barrier stuff going on there. But it's, at the end of the day, man, just trying to get that number to make it work.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great.
How do you grow without losing the personal touch? I feel like you're the face of the company and you're still in it.
So it is challenging. It is difficult. It's all about the culture of the company, right? My personality and the culture I had in my head translates through from the first guy to the last guy. We want to give this, so the whole idea, right? We want to be as strong on the back end, in the middle, as we are on the front. This is easy, right? Getting on roofs and doing my peace sign and making a video. This is the fun stuff, right? The hard part is the estimates and the documentation and the adjusting and the But we've been so lucky. I've only lost or got rid of 3 employees the last 4 years. So we're batting, I don't know, 850. It's pretty good. So we just have I think the culture is so great. We kind of brag in the background. It's like when you come to work for us, you're playing for the Yankees. And we kind of invest in that culture. We invest in our people. We train them. We really try to find people that fit our mentality, hard work, honesty, just trying to be a badass in a very cultural, great way that we don't want to go in the gray area. We want to stick black and white and do our job great. And that festers itself and it grows itself, is what I've noticed. And then what's that old saying? Hire slow, fire fast, right? When somebody doesn't fit, man, you gotta cut that string quickly because it's hurting them as much as hurting you. If some people just don't fit, they don't fit, which is okay, right?
What's your first move when storm hits?
So we track it, we watch it. I've done 25 hurricanes now to date, and I got this weird gut feeling. I kind of know when the big one's coming. So I know it's kind of funny. You notice all these roofers they see a storm coming, they're packing up and they're running to Virginia or North Carolina, and usually it takes a right and goes out in the Atlantic. So we usually wait till we know it's a sure thing. And then what we do, we'll just send out text, emails to our clients in that area. I'll do a couple videos on Facebook, let them know we're available and coming, and we just start lining stuff up. And that's how we can go do 200-300 claims in a couple months, and usually with the hurricane hits. So we just let people know the biggest thing on a hurricane is answer your phone and be available and have some experience. And we've done a lot of it. So
a lot of people do something similar. What's your firm? How is your firm different from others? How do you stand out? Because after the hurricane, everybody's going in, all the storm chasers, all the PAs.
Well, the funny part with that is we stick there. I'll get people on the ground and we'll stay there. Like until recently, the last couple of years, I was the one there with my couple guys on my team. We would live there for 6 months. We had a place in New Orleans for 6 months. We had a place in Florida when Ida hit for 6 months. We just, what my frustration is, a lot of guys, PAs, roofers, restoration guys, blow in, they blow out. These people want the tension. They're out of their home. They're out of their businesses. They're frustrated. So we'll find an Airbnb, we'll find a trailer. We'll sit people on that ground for 2, 3, 4, 5 months to make sure everything is taken care of all the way through, because it's literally nonstop inspections. It's nonstop phone calls. People want to see your bright, shiny face when the roof is blown off, right? They're frustrated. So we've learned that we have to have people on the ground there consistently, not just the first week or the second week, but from day 1 to day 120. And it's expensive, but you got to invest in your clients, right? Because they're investing in you and they believe in you. So you got to be there for them, man. And we've done that every time. It's paid off in spades for us.
When do you say no to a claim?
So the last couple of years, Dimitri, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a prototypical sales guy, right? I want to say yes to every claim in the entire world. I have a duty to my partners, to my employees, to my staff, to my family to run a profitable business. It took me a long time to learn that, right? So saying no is because we are not going to be able to perform that claim and number one, do the justice to the claim, and secondarily, not make any money on it. The reasons we say no to a claim, tight schedule for statutory limitations. If there's, honestly, some of the stuff we see is not real damage. It's blistering, or it's just not there, or there's not a good wind or hail date for the claim that doesn't match the policy period. So, a great claim has a good policy in effect, it has a good storm date, and you have a good client there. And if those things are all in line, you're gonna have a claim. But if one of those things isn't really okay, you're not gonna be successful. And what I've seen over my years is a lot of PAs take all these claims that are kind of, they wanna throw against the wall to make it stick. Insurance companies are way past that. They're sophisticated, they're smart, they know what they're doing. That doesn't fly anymore. So you want to have real damage on a real date of loss to make it work. And even then it's a challenge, right? So we say no if one of those things isn't true, okay? Or let's say they have $1 million deductible and a roof is 1.2 million. There's nothing for us to do. There's no money. If the deductible is so high, they're basically self-insuring that roof. I'm not going to work for free, and I'm not going to be able to help them. So we look at all that stuff beforehand. That's why we always try to get the policy up front before we make any decisions, and I'll pull a weather report to make sure that there's stuff there for us to do, and then photos from the contractor, from the insured, to see what actually damage is there, because we don't want to go in there blind and start turning in claims that aren't real, because that takes my time, our money. It frustrates the insured because you're making promises we can't deliver on. And then it actually pisses off the insurance company too, because they want to pay real claims. They don't want to go after these bogus claims and have to spend their time and energy too. And that pisses them off. And that's what got this industry in trouble, is
100%.
sending in garbage claims.
And I do see so many roofers. Recently, I was watching a video of someone, like very big name in the industry, on a roof, 20 years in business, and he's like, I'm not an engineer, I don't know, like pretty much sticking it to the wall, hoping it's gonna stick, right? Like, let's file, see what happens.
Oh my God.
And do you ever turn down roofers like that?
Oh yeah.
Because of their ethics or how
Yes.
they operate?
Yeah, we're very selective, man. My whole agenda is to be respected by my roofers, the insured, and the insurance companies. I think the reason why we're fairly successful in what we do is when the carrier gets our letter of rep, they know that we're going to work with them to get this stuff done. And 99.99% of the time, the claim is real and it makes sense, and we can prove that, right? Saying no is a big thing. And these guys who are Facebook famous, we won't name any names here, but I'm sure everyone knows, garbage in, garbage out. And that's the reason why deductibles are going up. Policies are getting harder to, ACV and roof schedules are all happening because the industry killed the golden goose, man. We had it great for 10, 15 years ago. Everything was getting bought, things were getting done, and then everybody started becoming all these things, right? And claims went from this to this, and sure, there are more legitimate claims, right? Because more roofers are finding them, but a lot of stuff isn't real, and it's making it more difficult for the honest people to make a buck and good PAs to make a buck, and insurance companies are not going to fall for the garbage anymore, man. They're just not.
So what do you think happened in Florida is, if I'm hearing you correctly, you blaming roofers as a main...
Well, so I blame the industry in general. I think public adjusters had a lot to do with it. I think attorneys had a lot to do with it. I think roofing contractors had a lot to do with it. I think there's some political motives in the background had a lot to do with it. So at the root of it, it's probably a 50-50 deal. We certainly didn't help in Florida, our industry, I mean, the problem in Florida was forever, you could have a roof claim for $30,000 and they would automatically go to an attorney. The attorney would sue, they would win, and they would get attorney fees on top of it. So this $30,000 claim became $100,000. Well, guess what happens? The insurance company's like, you know what, this is stupid. And DeSantis got in there and got some money from the insurance companies to make his run for president, and he went in there and helped change some of the laws. And quite frankly, it went from this to this, and we just got to get it back in the middle a little bit, right? Because the whole idea is it's got to be fair for the insured. And when they start getting pissed off enough, those laws will start changing again. But yeah, Florida is a lot of it's our own fault, 100%, man. The whole industry.
How did industry change since you started?
Well, my first claim was in 1992, and it's changed dramatically. So back then, I'm not going to kid you, you'd have a claim, State Farm would come up in their van with the ladders, do their thing, you agree on a scope, and they would stroke a check right then and there. Coverages were easier, deductibles were $250. All the technology wasn't around, there was no Code Blue, there was no Hail Trace, there was no this, no that. So it was basically the contractor and the insurance company working things out. And then what happens is, like anything, the whole thing really changed when the whole Allstate thing popped up, the McKinsey report. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that'd be an interesting topic for your viewers to dive into that.
Share it.
Okay. Remember, you're probably too young, but remember when Allstate was in Sears in the mall back when?
Yep.
Okay, so they used to sell policies right from the mall. Allstate was every mall, every place, every Sears had Allstate. And Allstate was getting big and getting powerful. And they were making money, right? They were happy in the 70s and 80s. And then they were like, you know what? We're making money, but I think we can make more money. How do we do that? So they hired a company called McKinsey. They're a consulting group out of Houston, Texas, okay? They also were involved in Enron, if you remember Enron. So Allstate brought this company called McKinsey in to do, the basically was, let's find a way to be more profitable. How can we just increase the numbers just a little bit, right? So McKinsey went in and they went through Allstate from the sale to the claim, to the underwriting, to the investments. They broke the Allstate business down to the penny. And this is a true fact. They came back with 50,000 pages of reference of what to do.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was hidden it was hidden for a long time. But the core of the product was delay, deny, defend. If you string claims out long enough, underpay them, and deny them, eventually people will get wore out and go away. It's basically, if you have the checkbook, and you have to make people chase you around. Like if I owe you $10 and I don't see you for 5 years, all I have is a $3 or $2 bill on me, you're just gonna take the two to go away. It's our mindset as the consumer, right? So what happened was Allstate started reinventing themselves as this, and they started slow paying claims and drawing claims out and underpaying them and denying them. Is that moral? I don't know, probably not, right? So it started working, and their profits skyrocketed.
What year was that?
1992, I believe. Yeah, look it up. It's called McKinsey report. It's how the whole industry changed.
And then everybody followed the suit.
Of course, State Farm was like, oh God, this makes sense. Travelers, oh my God, this makes sense, because the profits went from this to this. I mean, they were profitable before, but now they're extremely profitable. So the whole idea is take care of your shareholders, not your policyholders, because the shareholders want the profit, the policyholders are there for claims. Well, Allstate became not a claim-paying agency; they became an investment. Right? It's all about the portfolio and how the return on investment works for them. And every insurance company, therefore, followed suit. And it became harder and harder and harder to get claims bought. And then all the technology came, right? Like I said, the hail trace, Xactimate came. All of a sudden, everybody's controlling pricing over here. And if you do some research also, I'm pretty sure State Farm was one of the original investments in Xactimate, because they wanted to kind of control those pricings. And then when I was a contractor back in the 90s, I was on the premier program for State Farm. I was on Crawford & Company. I was doing all these claims to the insurance carriers, and they were controlling how much I get, when I get paid, how I get paid. And they just started becoming a profit-driven organizations over the top, and that's when things changed. And it's going, and the laws started changing, and everything started changing slowly. And next thing you know, man, it is a pure claims in 2025 or business decisions. It's not about the claim or the policy anymore. It's about business for the insurance company. Does this claim make sense to get paid? Because keep in mind, carriers assess risk for a living. That's what they do. How risky is it not to pay this claim? Right? And they gauge that. And if it's a little bit of a risk and it's not worth the fight, they'll end up paying it. That's why we have to be so exceptionally great on our side to document the living hell out of it, to have all these things perfectly in line to get that submitted, because you want to give them all the evidence you can to make sure you can get that claim paid. If there's any buffer or any gray area, it's not going to get paid or get paid as much as it should have. So yeah, things are completely different, man.
So fast forward to 2025.
Yeah.
Is tech making adjusting easier or harder? ChatGPT, analyzing, right? So we have another revolution. So you have with all the tech, so they make it harder by design.
Yep.
But technology should be making everything easier. Does it make it easier or harder?
If you use it right, it's making it easier. I mean, you got to be careful with ChatGPT because it's not always right? There's a very famous law firm in Florida that used ChatGPT in a case briefing, submitted it, and it was a fake case. It wasn't even a real. ChatGPT just made it up, and the attorney submitted that to the court. They got fined. I think the guy got disbarred. Yeah. So.
Really?
Yeah. Like any technology, man, you gotta. So we use ChatGPT mostly on our letters to make sure they're, grammatically correct and they look good and they're professional. But you got to be real careful when you start overusing some of this stuff. But hail trace is a blessing. We use Xactimate just to get a number that makes sense, except for the specialty items. But if you use technology to your benefit, and keep in mind though, the carriers also have the same technology, right? So you just got to make sure you're up to par on this stuff, man. So we're constantly looking for the next best thing to make our jobs better. And just the whole idea is we want to give the best presentation of facts we can to the carrier. And whatever technology we have in our hip pocket to do so, we certainly want to do that. Because we want to be, when they get our claim submission, the desk adjuster from the insurance company, we want them to look at it going, oh crap, they got us, we better pay this. That's what we want.
In the past 5-10 years, how did carriers change? So McKinsey, like Wildest, but 5-10 years also have been pretty dramatic. Price increases from suppliers, manufacturers.
Yep.
How does that all go together?
Well, I mean, once again, insurance companies are for profit, right? So they're going to do everything they can to save those nickels, dimes, and pennies. I have a gut feeling that carriers are going to start investing heavily into roofing products or to Home Depot, or if they're smart, you think they would start doing that to control some of that. One thing I've seen a dramatic shift in is independent adjusters. Back when I started, and even 10, 15 years ago, the IA would show up on a claim. He'd have full authority. We'd work it out right there on site, read a report, it would go in, check would come. Now the IAs, they've gotten their power taken away. It's all going back to carrier adjuster on the desk. They're the one making coverage decisions. They're the one making all these decisions. And the desk adjuster read a beautiful report. Yeah, there's coverage. It's $278,000. Next thing you know, we got a check for $93,000. Well, what happened there? So the IAs are being stripped of their of what they're great at. They're being limited to basically photo takers at this point, and it's frustrating. So a lot of the claims are being done now at the desk, not in the field. So it's just a different culture. I mean, the seek nows and the ladder nows and all these paid hired guns coming up, climbing these roofs, are just literally taking pictures and giving it right back to the carrier. So you're missing that dialogue on the roof to get stuff done. You don't have that personal touch anymore. So we've designed our company the same way, man. I have my documentation team and I have my desk adjusters. And my desk adjusters adjust claims at the desk, and my documentation team runs around the country doing the documentation. So that's how we kind of structure things, and it works for us. It is too bad that some of the old-time negotiations gone away, because that was the fun stuff, right? You're just you're playing chess on the roof, and now you're just watching them take photos. So, and then the insurance companies also are using engineers like there's no tomorrow for these claims. I mean, they're coming in, and these carriers are bringing these engineers in to write these reports, and 9 times out of 10, they're not favorable for the insured. So they're using a lot of big guns on the other side for some of the heavy lifting to kind of deny some of these claims, which is sad.
Is it the best time to be a contractor or a public adjuster?
Ooh. Boy, it depends. I came from the contracting world. I got tired of it. I mean, we're owed money now, but not like we were owed as a contractor. The thing about being a contractor that you guys are all great at is all the moving parts, man. Suppliers, subcontractors, all workman's comp. You have all these moving parts that nobody really understands, so you're in the trenches. PAs have a little bit simpler business model, honestly. I think private equity has turned if you're good at what you do, the PE firms are coming at you now. So some of these contractors are cashing in, and they're doing great things. So I would think now, I think it's a better time to be a contractor, I think. However, I love what I'm doing, and I will stick to this. I have a lot less headaches, and I think I found my niche. But I think it's not for everybody. I think it's a different personality type. I think the contracting thing is a little more chaotic. There's more moving parts, you know what I mean? So I think being a contractor is probably more financially rewarding at this time, but that could change, in a minute, right?
So insurance companies are tightening up, and they're also cracking down on unlicensed adjusting, right? What's your take
UPPA.
on it? Yeah.
So here's the thing, and I was just in a courthouse in Dallas in May, and I was hired by a defense attorney to come in and help the contractor. He was getting sued for $1 million. Quick story.
By who? By insurance?
No, by the insured. So now, what's happening in Texas is there's a bunch of lawyers, attorneys, who go in and they'll solicit the insured and say, hey, we need to look at your file, because if your contractor violated the UPPA laws, you don't need to pay him, or we're going to sue him. So this poor contractor had a water loss in 2021, travelers insurance, $278,000 loss, normal pipe break, blah, blah, blah. Did 95% of the work. She hired an attorney. They sued the contractor for $1 million. $1 million, man. Not for $278,000, for $1 million for violating the UPPA laws. So all these things on Facebook, people are saying, it's not real, it's real, and it's coming. My frustration with UPPA is it was created by the insurance companies, and it was created by NAPIA, the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. I'm not a member of that. It is a law, and it is in place, and we do have to be careful with it. However, my problem with UPPA is most public adjusters are not financially, we can't take small claims. Like in Texas, there's a fee cap of 10%. So on a $25,000 roof claim, which most claims are 50 grand and below, my firm can't take those because I will physically lose money in every claim I take below $25,000. The money's not there. So what happens is all these claims that are 25 grand, 30 grand, who represents them? Nobody. So the insurance company has their way with these smaller claims because no one's taking care of those insureds. So UPA, the practicing of unlicensed practicing of public adjusting, is basically saying if you as a roofer or a contractor do anything to insert yourself into the claim and talk about policy, coverage, this or that, you're violating the UPA law, right? You can talk about your means and methods of construction, you can talk about the product, but that's it. Well, we all know, right? When you get on a claim, what are you talking about? The wind hit this state, all these things come up. So it's a very fine line, and it's a poorly written bill. That's my biggest problem. It's a poorly written bill. And there has to be some sort of measure to help these insureds with these smaller claims. Because most people, like you know, have a claim. What do? Call the carrier comes out, they take care of it, yes or no, boom, 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 and that's it. Well, 95% of the time, that's probably not okay. They're going to pay for 7 shingles instead of the whole slope. Or it's a discontinued tile, and they'll pay for 1 or 12 tile, and it's actually 150 tile that you can't get anymore. So there's certain things that are not being presented properly. So this UPA thing is a huge problem in our industry, and it's going to get worse. And these contractors are going to get busted, and somebody's going to lose a lot of money until our industry starts working together, the roofers, the contractors, the public adjusters, the attorneys, to find a solution for these homeowners, insureds, on these smaller losses. Does that mean that, we put if you want to do insurance claims, the roofer goes in and we have some sort of class that anything below 50 grand you're allowed to do because you pass these courses or something? There's got to be something that we do as an industry to help these insureds, because that's literally what it's all. It's not about you or I or our attorneys it's about the insureds, and that's what we're missing the fact on. So I understand why the UPA thing came to evolve, but it's so gray and it's so one-sided, and it shouldn't be about us, man. It needs to be about the insured. That's the problem, and we missed the target on that.
This lawsuit is crazy. Can you give me a few more details, because it's so sickening that homeowner suing a contractor for $1 million. Like, what? Why is she or him or whoever playing victim? Like, what damage? Like, why would you sue someone?
Like any law, right? There's always these crafty attorneys out there, and a lot of my friends are attorneys, and I love them greatly. My daughter's in law school. A lot of attorneys are great at what they do. There's always that regiment or that sector of attorneys, like anything, right? The ones that are up and up, right? They're trying to make a quick buck. So they found this loophole in this law, and it's really not a loophole. It's not a loophole. It's actually the law So the contractor that I was on the stand with, they had 2 emails and they had the word indemnify in it.
Wow.
That's it. So technically, Dimitri, they broke the law. They did.
One letter, one word.
One word, yeah. So they were trying to get paid. So the email was, hey, Mrs. Smith, we helped indemnify you on your claim to get you paid. That's all it took. So this attorney took that. I'm like, man, we're going to sue you. So that's the way this law is written, that anything you do, if you're not an attorney or a licensed public adjuster, and I want to talk about licensing for PAs down there when we're done here too, because that's a mess. You're violating the law. Now, keep in mind, the speed limit's 55. Sometimes you go 60, 65 and get through it, right? But a lot of these contractors, and you see them on Facebook, insurance specialist, I'll represent your claim, I'll waive your deductible. That's the shit that is getting back to these insurance companies, and it's pissing people off. So these guys are over the top with this stuff, and it's coming back in spades at them. So these attorneys are finding, there's billboards. They'll find these insureds that you have a claim. Is your contractor doing this and doing this? And once again, 95% of the time, the contractor doesn't know any different, and he's just trying to help. He's just literally trying to help, right? Because Mrs. Smith doesn't know how to handle a roof claim, or a water claim, or a whatever, right? So they're just trying to help and make a buck at the same time, which that's how we all started. And they're literally violating law. So these attorneys are taking these little gray areas and beating the crap out of these contractors. And I stood in the courthouse for 5 days watching this, and thank God we won, but it cost the contractor 50 grand in legal fees, right? And then now she has to go chase the insured around for the money because she didn't get paid for the claim anyway. So she has attorney fees plus has to go collect the money from the insured now.
UPA laws need to be clear, or the contractors just bad apples?
So there's both, right? So here's the crappy part. There's shitty contractors, there's shitty roofers, there's shitty PAs, there's shitty attorneys, and there's shitty adjusters on the other side. However, I only think that's about 10% of what we do, of the industry, man. There's a bazillion great roofers. There's a million great PAs. There's actually a lot of great adjusters on the other side, a lot of great insurance companies that will get claims done in a few days because they're good people, they understand we're done. So the problem is, like anything, right? These laws are designed for those bad apples, and you've had a lot of them on your show, right? And those are the ones that are ruining it, just like in Florida. They're the ones ruining it for the rest of the population. So until we can start self-policing ourselves as an industry, the roofers, the contractors, the PAs, the attorneys working together to get rid of some of these schleps or a-holes that shouldn't be doing this. They're just crooks. They could be working at a car wash and they're going to be crooks, right? They just happen to be in the industry because it's easy to get into. It's easy entry in our industry, and that's the problem. So there does have to be laws. They just have to be cleaned up so at the end of the day, the insured's not getting harmed, right? That's the whole idea. I understand penalizing shitty roofers and shitty PAs, and there should be stuff for that. But we shouldn't have to penalize the insured at the same time. I don't have an answer, but I would love to work with NAPIA and the insurance company, all these people to come up with something where the insured is the one that's okay, and shitty roofers and PAs are the ones getting fined, right? We're the ones that should be getting our asses handed to it, not the insured, right? And good roofers and good, they're great. They're needed. They are needed.
What's your take on Verisk buying IQ-Links?
It looks like a big data dump to me.
Yeah. Why do you think they did it, and what's going to come out of it?
I mean, it's all about data and pricing, right? So there's so much money involved in claims. It's trillions of dollars, and it all trickles down to so many different industries. So I think it's going to happen more and more and more and more. Like I said, beginning of the interview, I'm surprised State Farm doesn't own Home Depot or doesn't own Lowe's, or some of these bigger carriers start buying stuff to control pricing. Because that's what, at the end of the day, man, that's what it's all about. And I think all these
they're like the same size as like $70 billion Allstate or State Farm can't buy like $80 billion Home Depot because the sizes are.
Well, I think State Farm has a lot more assets than we know about. So is my gut feeling.
But you have to keep it shashed.
Yeah. No, I think it's a big data dump, man. I think it's all about pricing, and it's all about that's at the end of the day, man, that's what it's all about. This is such a big industry, and there's so many avenues for people to try to make a dollar on a claim. It's unreal, and that's just another example of it.
What made you switch back in the day from restoration to PA?
Oh man, I was a contractor, and I was in 6 states doing restoration work. I had 72 employees. It was, talk about a chaotic life, man. It was nonstop, 7 days a week. I had 2 small kids. One of my last years, my CPA came in. He goes, well, I got good news and bad news for you. I'm like, what's the good news? He goes, you did $18 million. This is in the 90s in a year. I'm like, holy shit, right? I'm doing great. He goes, you want the bad news? I go, yeah. He goes, it cost you $21 million. I'm like, and I'm not an accountant, Dimitri, and I'm not really good at numbers, but when you do a $3 million deficit working your ass off, I always had money, but I wasn't making profit, right? We were cash flow.
So what was missing in your case? And because it happens a lot at storm restoration.
What it was is I'm a really, really good business development person, okay? I'm really good at bringing work in, creating relationships, getting to know people, and I can bring that top number in. What happened to me, and happens to a lot of us entrepreneurs, is we're not great business people. We don't watch everything. And if you don't watch everything, something's going to bite you in the ass. Workman's comp goes through the roof. All these things started getting, the bigger you are, the more overhead you have to have. And then I was on these lists for State Farm and Farmers, and it got so complex, I had to hire an employee just to manage the list. So there's another 60 grand out the door, right? So my overhead started increasing faster than the money was coming in. And I just couldn't plug the dike, and I decided I was in a horrible marriage, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pull the Band-Aid off, and I went and got my PA license, and I methodically shut my business down and just switched. And it's quite honestly the best business decision I ever made in my entire life. I actually found I put people around me that are better at business than I am. They're better at just putting the rudders on the ship, the bowling bumpers, I call them, on the alley to keep me in line, and I let them control the money. Man, I don't know how much is in our checking account. I don't pay my Amex. I don't open Xactimate. I just have, I've managed in my second half of my life to find people who are better at stuff than I am, who love doing that stuff that I'm horrible at, and let them thrive. And that's why in our business in 4 years has exploded, because you let people be great at what they are, and they're going to excel. And it's all about seats on the bus, right? You got to put the right people in the right seat, and it's been remarkable. So I couldn't take being a contractor anymore. I wasn't good at it. I didn't enjoy it. My marriage was a disaster. My kids were hating me. It's like, it's just time, man. It was just time.
30 years, what keeps you going now? Because I still feel like you still work 7 days a week. Like you can't turn off. I feel like you're working probably as hard as you work as a contractor, but you made a switch back then.
Yeah.
What's different now? What keeps you going now?
I grew up a lot. I got remarried. I have a great wife. I have 2 great kids. I have 2 great stepkids. I really have got to the point where I enjoy my career. And I think the reason being is I developed so many great relationships the last 10, 15, 20 years. I enjoy what we do. I still get a kick out of getting my DocuSigns done and getting new claims in and watching the guys just get stuff done. To me, it's like I was an athlete in high school. I just love running out of the tunnel. I love games. I love playing. And I think this to me is every day, man, you wake up and you don't know what the day's going to have in front of you. And it's enjoyable, and I just love kicking the crap out of insurance companies and getting good checks. And I'm a very high energy. I'm self-motivated. I enjoy running a good business, and I enjoy what we're doing with our brand. And it's a lot of self energy, man. And I can't. I love it. I'm never going to retire. I may slow down and do some other stuff, but I'm never going to always have something going on. It's in your blood, you're an entrepreneur, right? It's just always, you got to have something that churns that, get the heart pumping.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's the toughest claim you've ever handled?
Whew, man. God, there's a bunch of them. The frustration we do run into is we can be dead right. Policy in place, good storm loss, good damage. And every once in a while, won't be able to get across the finish line. And you got to take it to an attorney. And I've learned that don't take that personal, because once again, it's a business decision on the other end. That's the frustration part. But we've had several that are just extremely challenging, that we just grind and you grind and you grind. I mean, we've had claims. I got one in Colorado we're doing right now that we got on a conference call a couple days ago with the insured. Hey, we're getting close to settlement. We need one more inspection with our engineers and their engineers. And he goes, hey, I forgot to tell you, I got the roof done. I'm like, what? So all the evidence is gone. It's a $2.1 million claim.
Wow.
And we've got him like $600,000. He goes, well, I had to get it done because the guests were upset. And I go, Mr. Insured, I understand that, but if you'd have talked to me, we could have did some temporary whatever, but now we've jeopardized the claim. We have a million photos, but as well as I do, the insurance company wants to see that in its pristine state. So it's like a crime scene. And when the insureds are, a lot of our difficulties are with the insurers wanting to go so fast that they don't let us do our job, or they'll wait to the last minute. Like, we'll get a call, the statute of limitations runs out next week. What can you do? Well, nothing. You let a year go by without getting any help, and I can't really help you now, because once that statute of limitations is passed, the insurance company has no obligation to help, and they're not going to help because they want to. There's no motivation for them. So those are the tough ones, man. The ones that you see that you can't help, that you just can't, because it's too late or just different circumstances. So,
what's your personal rule working with the clients? What boundaries do you set? Like, how personal does it get with the clients?
We try not to. I mean, here's the big thing, man. You want to be able to empathize with them and understand where they're coming from, because a lot of our clients are, if they're business owners, their business is shut down. And they've worked for 20 years to get to this point, and their roof is blown off and their inventory is gone, so you have to rebuild. But at the same time, man, I don't need to talk to them at 3 o'clock on a Sunday, because nothing's going to change at 3 o'clock on a Sunday. So we try to set boundaries. I have a thing on my phone that if they hit me up on a Sunday, I'm like, hey, I want to help you, but here's my email. Send me an email. I'll respond Monday. So you got to have that. The work-life balance a little bit, because my family's important to me, but at the same time I want to do a great job. So you just got to find that balance, and most people respect that, right? And they understand that, hey, it is a business, but you got to empathize, get close. But at the end of the day, we got to keep in mind that it is a business. The claims is a business. The process of handling a claim as a public adjuster is a business. Even though Mrs. Smith's home is blown to hell, it is a business. As long as she's comfortable and okay, we'll be okay. But it is tough because if you get so involved in the emotion of it all, you start making emotional decisions, and you can't. You got to be very methodical on what we do. And I think a lot of guys, most PAs, the good ones, have a big heart to want to help everybody, but you got to learn how to manage that as well, because it can get you in a lot of trouble. Because you don't want to overpromise either. Like, oh, it's a long haul on some of these claims, man, and people get frustrated very quickly, which is understandable, right? Because you're the one talking to them every day, not the carrier. So what happens at the end of a claim, you got to be careful, because the burden of anger shifts towards you, not the insurance company. You're the guy holding things up. You're the one not getting them paid. Well, in actuality, it's State Farm not paying the claim, right? But you're the one, your firm's the one talking to them every day. So
you're on the receiving end of it. How do you not pass it to your customers? Because the anger, the disputes, talking to idiots in the cubicles, how do you switch? Like so many people throw towels, like I'm done dealing with this, right?
So what we did at our company a couple of years ago, I try to keep my desk adjusters not dealing with the clients as much, because I want them in full business mode, submitting, negotiating, getting checks done. So I hired a couple of people in the customer service department, and literally all they do is they field questions and they listen. Because sometimes the insured just wants to talk about how shitty things are going, man. I'm in a rental. I've been in this condo for 6 months. I'm not getting anywhere. We're a family of 4, went from a 3,000 square foot home down to a 1,200 foot condo. So I have 2 people, all they do is listen. And it's helped quite a bit, because like I said, I want my adjusters nailing these insurance companies. Now, I can't have them on the phone for 2 hours listening to this stuff, because it is real and it is there. But at the same time, we got to get their claim done. So if we're listening to all this stuff, we're not getting their claim done. So we hired a couple people that just literally get on the phone, and they're the update people, man. They're the ones listening and talking to the insured, talking them through all this stuff. And some people need more, some people need less. It's kind of up to them how engaged they want to be. If they want to talk on the phone for 2 hours, my guys will talk on the phone for 2 hours. If they just want a 3-minute what's going on, we'll give them a 3-minute what's going on. So we've hired a couple people just to do the empathy part of the claim, because that's a huge part of it, man. It's emotional. It's emotional, and people forget that.
It's a loss.
Yeah.
It has loss.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you grew up a lot after you changed. What would you say helped you shape your career early on?
So I've always been a hard worker, man. I mean, my dad was a plumber, bro. So I grew up digging ditches and haul soil pipe, and I used to hate him. So 5:30 in the morning on my summers, I'd be with him doing all my stuff. But I learned, man, hard work always pays off, I've noticed. And you can't teach that. And that's...
I think you can. I think we learn from our parents by their examples. Yeah.
100%. But if somebody didn't have that growing up, I see it's a little bit different. They just have a different... You can't be an 8 to 5 guy in our world. So I have learned, though, the last couple of years, so my guys call me Larry Bird, because my biggest problem early in my career was, why is everybody working as hard as I am? It's Sunday morning. Why aren't they on the phone getting shit? Why aren't they ordering the material? Why aren't they doing this thing? And it finally dawned on me a couple of years ago, like, hey, man, they're not the owner. They're employees. They're going to give me everything they got for a certain amount of time, but they have families and friends, and they have a life outside of this. And you got to start to separate. When I started separating that, my life was important. It's actually started enhancing my career, because I wasn't so just on edge all the time, man. And when I started golfing, when I started enjoying my life more, when I started doing cool stuff, is when my career really started blossoming, because I think I took the burden off myself. I didn't need to be Michael Jordan every day of my life, 24 hours a day, because it's exhausting, man. And the money comes. The money's the easy part to all this, right? The money is simple. It's how you spend it and how you do with it and how you manage it. And that's where a lot of us fail in the beginning. We just can't get enough and get enough. There's a certain time that you got to enjoy what you have, man. I heard you talking before about how you now schedule your vacations. If anybody's listening out there, do that, man. Because what happens to all of us when you're young, you just start grinding, and then the grind becomes your job, and then your wife and your kids are suffering. They want dad as well as business dad, right? So you got to find that 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever that is, And I've been real fortunate the last couple of years. Is my wife supports my career, but at the same time, when we're at dinner, man, my phone is upside down. It's over here, and we ain't talking about work. We're talking about kids and family and what we're doing on our next vacation and stuff like that. That's what's really became more important to me now, and my income has gone through the roof since I started doing that mysteriously, right? So it's an odd thing how it transitions, but when you start seeing the fruit grow and everything the food tastes better and the wine tastes better and and then you're able to be better for your clients too because you're more relaxed and you're not always so tense and just worrying about the next thing. I think a maturity thing has had a lot to do with that. So.
I think a lot of people don't understand that muscles grow when you rest, not when you work out. So, if you going 3 times a day to the gym, it's not gonna get much. So you have to get that rest.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to understand, but like sleep is overrated, underrated.
Yep.
Vacation is underrated because I'm a workaholic. But I notice like if I don't take care of myself, you will not take care of anyone.
You got to learn to be the hard part. You got to be a little bit selfish. And my wife's great. She goes, you need to go to the gym. You need to do all this stuff. You need to go to massage. You need to because the better I am as an individual, the better my family's going to be, and the better my employees are going to be, and my staff, and my claims. And you got to invest back in yourself emotionally and physically. And if you don't do that, you just burn yourself out, man. And you just grind and you grind and you grind. You get old before your time, and then you get mentally tired, and you start making bad decisions, right? And I think that's where it all stems from, So it's important.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh God. Patience, listening is a big thing. I think patience is a big one. I was always in such a hurry to do the next thing, get the next claim, get the next roof on, get the next fire claim, get the next whatever. I would never enjoy where I'm at. So I think sometimes taking a pause and enjoying what's going on now and then valuing the relationships that you create along the way. And then my big thing too is acknowledging people daily that are helping or inspiring or I send these goofy texts out sometimes to my guys and I mean it, man. Like, thank you. Like, thanks for busting your ass, bro. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being such a good friend. Just, thank you. And that gets lost in the beginning sometimes. We don't really stand to, because nobody gets here by ourselves, right? We all have family or employees or people that have inspired us or gotten our head a little bit and made some differences. So saying thank you to everybody that means something, I think is a huge thing because they're going to be out of your, people transition, right? So you got to make sure they're aware of their importance to you,
Well said. What's the wildest thing you've seen insurance companies do?
Oh my God.
You can list a few if you want.
Oh my God.
But some crazy.
Oh God. I mean, dude, some of the stuff that we see, so we've been fortunate. We've developed a lot of great relationships with the carrier guys. We get a lot of claims done after hours on a text because they'll tell me what they need. So, dude, some of the hoops and some of the the blatant, I don't want to call them lies, but I think the worst part of our is these engineer reports we get, and they're so vague and they're so open-ended and they're so conjoint, like.
Not what you expect from engineer report, right? Like engineer report should be like numbers are numbers.
Facts X plus Y equals Z. The storm hit. Here's the damage, or here's no. But what'll happen is, some of the stuff like one thing we've changed is we'll document what time the engineer gets there and what time he leaves, and we'll put that in our file. And you'd be amazed what that big difference is because and then we'll take a picture of them taking pictures, right? So we'll have hail here. And they'll take a picture here, right? It happens all the time. It's just like, come on, man. Just stuff like that. I mean,
adjusters do that too.
Of course. Now, my biggest thing is like, who's teaching them that, man? Is that, and once again, they have to make a living and I understand all that and they have families to take care of, but dear God, man, come on. You know what I mean? It's just the stuff like that gives everybody such a bad taste in their mouth, but I've been lied to. I've been, I've had to get off roofs before because, I'm a principal guy, man. You got to prove me wrong. And if you just are being an asshole, I'm not going to put up with that, right? So, we do a lot of good cop, bad cop stuff, and we have a very diverse group of people that work for me. And sometimes my personality isn't great for certain circumstances. I've learned to exit myself. But the stuff we see sometimes, you just start laughing because, we'll literally, like we have one claim right now in Georgia where we literally ask these 5 questions and they come back with the answer 2 of them. Like, why didn't you answer all 5? Because the answer to the other 3 is going to put you in jeopardy of paying that claim. So we see the avoidance and things like that. It just, I can't think of one particular horrific story, but I think there's so many. I just learned you almost learn that it's acceptable on their end. You just deal with it.
I see. What's the biggest lie that insurance carriers tell their clients or people?
Oh man, what frustrates us is, a lot of times we'll get a claim signed, and then immediately that broker or that agent or that adjuster will call the insured behind our back. Said, why would you get a PA for? We're going to get you taken care of. And then they get their nose in there and they try to get us. We have a claim in Kentucky last year. Beautiful hail date or storm. Went up on the roof with the insurance company, 3.5 inch hail. Well, we had the hail date. They wanted to switch dates of loss. So they went behind our back, switched the hail date to a different hailstorm, 2 weeks prior, 2 weeks, whatever it was, paid the claim in full, and left us hanging out and dry. And the insured, and basically they got the insured against us to pay that claim. Now, technically we're due that fee, right? So it's stuff like that that really pisses me off because they never would have known they had a claim without us being there representing them. The carrier knew they had to pay the claim. It was just a vendetta not to pay us. They were anti-PA. So they really went around our back, got a different date of loss, sent the insured a check, and now he's not answering his phone. So now we have to get an attorney involved, all this other stuff, man. So stuff like that is just egregious and it's disappointing. But I think it all stems from the bad reputation of public adjusting. It's just a lot of deadbeat PAs out there, man, who make our life miserable because 20 years ago they were assholes. And then people carry that with them. And I think carriers are taught that PAs are bad people and we're here to make life miserable. And that's not really the case. We're here to help mostly, but there are some bad apples, but we all pay the price for that, right? So.
100%. What's your favorite David versus Goliath story, if you have one? When you went against the giant and won the fight?
Man, there's been some big claims we've gotten done. I mean, we had one claim in Mississippi. It was a strip mall or a mall. I think they paid him $118,000. I won't mention the insurance company. They hired us. I flew there myself. It was a big claim. We spent 3 weeks on this property. Up and down, inside out, up and down, around, in, out. Went through it. We settled that claim for $6.9 million in 5 months because we were dead right. The insurance company didn't even inspect all the roofs. They went and saw one part of it, wrote a check, and called it a day. So that's our biggest win by far, percentage-wise. From 118 to over 6 million in just a few months was insane. So that we had a couple cocktails on that one. So, but it happens all the time. We'll see claims they start out at 200,000, will be over 2 million. It's amazing, and it shouldn't be like that, right? I could see being a little bit off, but they're off millions of dollars, man. It's crazy, consistently.
Finish the phrase. If your adjuster isn't, fire them.
Oh man, on the PA side, you mean? Yeah, boy. If he overpromises you, if it sounds too to be true, a large loss is going to take a year. If they promise you weeks or months, they're lying. If they're cutting their fee down, they're not worth their salt. If they're a lot of guys aren't licensed doing work in certain states they're not licensed in. Check their licenses. If they're not returning emails or phone calls, you should fire them. If they don't give a shit, you should fire them. You got to give a shit. That's what gets us through the finish line. And yeah, those are the big ones, man. Yeah, you got to give a damn. And the biggest thing too, you got to let your people know you give a damn too. And that's a vibe they feel. And when you don't, and people just become a number, that's what they hired you for, is not to be a number with State Farm. They hired you to get representation. And when they become just a number to you, that's the problem. And we're not helping at that point, man.
Wow, very deep. Give one advice to the contractor who may be skeptical working with the PAs, we have a lot of distrust in the industry right now.
It's horrible. And you know what? Some of it's valid, bro. There's a lot of PAs out there that are Facebook famous. They're not worth their salt. They can't manage a claim. So here's the thing, what I would suggest. Every claim doesn't need a PA. Every claim doesn't need an attorney, man, okay? However, what you need to do is find some PAs and attorneys that you trust and have a conversation with and ask questions. We get claims in all the time that we're not gonna take, but I'll review and give them advice on what the coverages are and what they need to do. So build those relationships. So when you do need one, they're there for you and you trust them. And it's not about the dollars and cents. We're not taking money out of the claim so you can't build the claim. We're there to get the claim bought properly so you can build the claim. It's just relationship business. And I think a lot of guys, both sides don't understand that. We need contractors, contractors need us, not on every claim. On complex claims for sure. And don't wait till the last minute to call us. Don't wait. Don't bury the body so deep that we can't unbury it, because what happens is it's like a train wreck, man, and you can't put those pieces back together again, because anything you say is and will be held against you on a claim. So yeah, just find people you can trust and have a rapport, and ask questions before you need to get them involved. That way you have that rapport, that relationship there, and you trust them, because you're basically turning a client over to them, right? And biggest thing too, when you do that, you still got to keep your client on the roofing side. You can't let us I can't manage your relationship as well. And I think a lot of roofers fail at that. They think once they turn over to our firm, they can kind of let the claim go. They still need to be in contact with that insured, just to say hi once in a while, because when that check comes, I can't make that insured hire that roofer. I can't. We want to, but I certainly can't say, hey man, we got you $1 million now. You can go get your roof done with the guy that referred us. He can do what he wants with that money. So these roofers got to continue marketing that client along the way. We do the best we can to keep them involved and informed. But at the end of the day, man, sometimes that check, they're not, just make sure they keep marketing along the way. That's a huge thing.
Love it. That was very nice of you to fly into Minneapolis.
I'm honored to
do this. Will we see you in Win the Storm next week?
Yeah, I'm on the board of directors, man. They got some great people involved. I'm really excited to be part of it. We have a booth. This is my 10th or 11th one, man. The thing about Win the Storm, it got some bad pub for a couple of years. Deservedly so, by the way. However, I don't think there's been one thing that's brought more people together overall. But all the bad stuff that went on, whatever. But I tell you what, I've got millions of dollars of relationships out of that event, man. It's probably 80% of my relationships come from that event. That's how I met all my people. And I think it's what you put into these things is what you get back. And once again, all that bad stuff that went on behind the scenes, I wasn't a part of. Most people weren't, but it happened. And they didn't take care of the vendors and shit happens. But Josie, you've met, he's great. He has a heart for it. He's come a long way. He invested in it. The board of directors, man, I'm so proud to be part of that. There's 8 of us on that thing, and it's the who's who of got our shit together people, I think, and I feel good about it. And we're donating our time and our energies, and I'm super impressed about the talent coming aboard. The speakers like yourself are incredible. The breakout sessions are incredible. If you go to learn and absorb and have a game plan, it's going to pay off 10 times over for you.
There's a lot of business owners. There's a lot of people.
Oh my God.
I tell people the same thing that I give advice about social media. If you don't like something, you don't even have to engage. You don't like the content, keep scrolling. I see the people commenting on I have one guy who commented on every single post about my recommendation, because he has one beef with one vendor 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And every single time, when are you going to call out this guy? When are you going to call out, he has beef with me for not calling out that guy for 5 years. I'm like, bro. And he presented his case, the vendor presented his case, and I'm like, here's a story. I don't think you're in the right. I don't think he's you guys have some beef.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's been years. And if you don't like what I do now, stop commenting on everything else. I'll interview nice people, and they're like, when are you going to call out that guy? Is that how you come to to learn on YouTube or on the conference?
It's once again, this shit I did, I'm like, I cringe. Oh my God. If I could go back and do my first 200 claims over again, I'd probably do a 10 times better job. Does that make me an asshole? Probably not.
You did the best you could.
The best I could. So I think we're all getting that circle, and we're all make mistakes. We've all had financial issues that go south, or a client that's you can't handle, or it goes wrong, or this or that. However, most people intend to be good people, I feel, right? And if there's some that aren't, and that's fine too, man. But 95% of the people you meet are just great and they're cool. You can hang out with, and that's the way it's supposed to be. There is that 5% though that suck, right? And I think we all get caught up in that 5% of people that are paying the asses, who don't do what they're supposed to do, don't say what they want to say, and just kind of do the wrong thing. But don't get caught in the drama. But that doesn't guilt the whole conference that it's a problem, right? The industry is very easy to jump on someone when they're down, and it's not great, because we've all been there, bro. And sometimes you just need a helping hand and a little bit of a forgiveness when it's actually, there's some circumstances sometimes that happens to all of us, and some of it's not on purpose, but some guys do deserve to get their hands slapped, right?
100%.
But
all right, guys, I'll see you next week and Win the Storm. Thank you so much for flying in, and
yes,
let's
sir.
do the radio.
Thank you, Dimitri.